Welcome to the PRSonal Podcast, the podcast where we get to meet the real person behind the professional. On this episode, I'm joined by Lori Watkins. Now, Lori is a psychic medium, business owner, educator, author, and holistic therapist. Lori, when did you discover that you could communicate with the other side?
Probably around the ages of 4 or 5. So around about 5, there were a lot of things that were going on in my personal life. My parents split up, so it was quite traumatic. And it got to a point where I would just talk to lots of different people that were not there. So I also thought that I could move things with my mind. It was something that I was really passionate about. And I would even say to my mom, I can move that. Just watch.
And could you? Did it move?
No.
Okay.
But that's what I thought.
Right.
And all these different thoughts kept coming into my mind about being able to heal with my hands. And that was something that has come through my entire life. So we lived on a farm. So I used to go out and find injured animals and just put my hands on them to try and heal them back to life. And sometimes it would be fine and they would hop off like a bunny or whatever, they'd be fine. Other times I wasn't that successful. But my link to the other side and healing and wanting to help people has always been there from such a young age. But talking to lots of different people from a very young age was something that even my parents noticed. I think they were worried about it at the very beginning. But then as I got older, they realised, she's actually communicating to other people.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Often when we're young, we have to have an invisible friend, don't
That's
we?
it, yeah.
But were your friends visible as well?
At that point, yeah. So up until the age of 8 or 9, I was very introvert. So I loved to spend time on my own, but I wasn't on my own. So I would talk to lots of different. So I had a healer who I used to talk to, and he used to talk to me about, all of these different medical things and how if you just learn that knowledge, then you can help people in that way. I used to have a very old, wise lady who would just give me information on how to navigate my life at that early stage because there was so much going on. And I was like, right, okay. And I would tell my mum all about this, and she did think that I was mad, even though we have a history of it.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah,
it was very interesting. I enjoyed that because I could see everything, whereas now all of my senses have completely changed.
Okay. And that was just your normal. There were just these people all around you. You just thought it was maybe a busy house.
Yeah, no, it was definitely normal. To be honest, I did click quite early on that they weren't actually there.
Okay.
It was just convincing family that I wasn't just seeing things.
Right.
That was more of the issue.
Oh, it's so intriguing. And so how do you define being psychic, and are there different types?
Yes, there are different types. You've got psychic medium. So psychic is where you read into somebody's energy and you use what I call the clairs. So you've got, it's also known as like the clair senses. So you've got your clairvoyance where you can see.
Right.
And some people can see, like I can see you, and that does happen. And that has happened to me even in my current age, sorry. But otherwise you would see it in your mind's eye, so almost behind your eyes. So you have to kind of fight with your imagination as to whether it's real or you're imagining it. And then you've got your clairaudience where you would hear, your clairsentience where you would feel, claircognizance where you just know. It's just a knowing. And you have other ones as well, so the smell and the taste as well, which you can actually get, which is quite intense.
Do you get all of that?
I do, yeah. Not necessarily at any one time, but that can happen. But I do, they change. And the tutor that I've had, she's absolutely phenomenal, Deborah Chalmers. And she has always said, you can have a moment in time where you're with your clairvoyance, a moment in time where you're with your clairaudience. And I think it's just a matter of practicing it as well. But those are the different kind of psychic senses, whereas mediumistic, that is the art of connecting with the other side.
Okay. Oh, it's so fascinating. And can anybody do this, or do you have to have a special talent for it?
Anyone can do it.
I find that so hard to believe.
No, seriously, honestly, because it's just a matter of expanding your awareness.
Okay.
So you do have to meditate. You have to sit in your own power. As I always refer to Deborah, because she's just fabulous, and she's taught me everything that I know. So you sit in your power, and you feel that power right down in your solar plexus and you expand it out. If you think about it on a quantum level, so if we go into more of the quantum physics.
Oh, yes, please.
Everything is there in your energetic field. We all have a magnetic field.
True. Mm-hmm.
And on a quantum level, every single opportunity exists in the here, in the now, and it is there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So everything is tangible.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
true.
includes being able to connect to the other side.
Mm.
But if I'm completely honest, there's massive energetic shifts going on in the world at the moment.
I've heard that.
Massive.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling a bit off,
yeah,
that's because of that. And there are big magnetic shifts as well with the earth itself.
Why
and
do
it
you
really
think?
impacts us.
Yeah, why do you think it is?
It's more of a cleansing, and this is my opinion.
Okay.
Everyone has a different opinion.
Right.
But in my opinion, it's a cleansing of the earth. So the earth, a lot of people think that we do things to the earth, and they don't understand that it's actually a sentient being in itself.
Okay.
And it goes through a cleansing process every 12,000 years.
Wow, okay.
And we're approaching the cleansing cycle.
It's a bit scary, though.
That. It is. I find that I do find that quite scary.
Yeah, do you think it's going to be like a major natural disaster?
That's not something that I would ever put myself in a position of answering, if I'm honest. I just think that whenever you get any kind of an energetic shift, you can feel it. You can innately feel it.
Yeah,
It does impact you.
Really feel the changes in the moon cycle, the lunar cycle, which
absolutely.
Again, some people think I'm crazy for, but
No, not at all.
yeah, when it's the new moon, I totally feel it. But yeah,
Absolutely.
and I only recently started connecting it probably about 2-3 years ago to my moods and my energy levels and everything like that.
Well, we're made up of water, aren't we?
Yes.
What is it, like 70 to 80%? So we're definitely impacted with the gravitational pull of the moon. So.
Definitely. And you know, what you were saying before about the quantum science, quantum physics, there is so much science backing up a lot of these things. Why do people still struggle to believe it?
That's a really good question. So I actually have a channel. When it comes to social media, I'm different. I don't find it easy to navigate. I'm more of a in the present, being with people. But I have a channel where I try to demystify everything to do with mediumship, because people think it's this crazy, cuckoo-y kind of thing. But because everybody can do it, everybody can connect to the other side. Everybody has signs from the other side.
Absolutely, I believe that.
And I don't understand. I think it's because there's religion involved. There are so many people who think that when you die, that's it. So I think trying to understand and believe that there is something on the other side is still so very far away from some people's minds. And I still don't fully understand that myself. No. But you can't force it onto people, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you have all these amazing senses from the other side, but what's the most prolific evidence you have that there is, you know, life on the other side?
Another fab question. There are so many different experiences that I've had, which I'm not so sure I can just give one prime example of evidence. So with every reading that I get, it could be something down to a piece of jewelry or a watch that they used to wear, and then I would say what the inscription was on the back of that watch.
Yeah.
It could be something as, you know, if someone comes through, what their favorite meal was or what their last words were before they passed away, or a specific memory that was just between the person who I'm reading for and the person who's passed away. So it's unique to every reading that I give.
And things you'd have no way of knowing.
Absolutely.
Otherwise.
Absolutely. I mean, I do channeling as well. So I channel different beings or universal consciousness, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I'm very open. So I just say, as long as you're here for the higher good, then I'll take what comes through.
Okay.
And a lot of it is from universal consciousness about things that might happen in the world and how to help people. And there's no way to really quantify that. So when it comes to saying, oh, this is the evidence that this may happen, I've got to be very mindful, because I would love to turn around and say, yes, this is going to happen on this date, but that doesn't sit comfortable with me at the moment. I know that there are mediums who do that, and they're right, and that's brilliant. I think I prefer at this moment in time to keep the evidence on more of a personal basis as opposed to a large scale. If
that makes sense. Yeah, it does make sense. And obviously the news tends to sensationalize predictions like that. And quite often the ones that they do sensationalize are wrong, which discredits what your industry is about.
Well, that's it. And I've got to think bigger than myself as well. You know, I have 3 young children. And if I were to put myself out there and make myself that vulnerable by saying, you know, to answer what you said earlier, do I think that there's any seismic event that's going to happen? And I say, yeah, there's going to be a tsunami here, and it comes true, then that would just go a lot of, not necessarily limelight, but a lot of attention on me. And I've got to think of my children. I like to do things on a much smaller scale at the moment anyway.
No, that makes sense. Save it for the future. And have you had any particularly memorable readings that you've done for anyone?
Yes. I've had quite a few. I've had one where I do different readings for different people.
Okay. And so you just kind of know what they need? What type? Right, okay.
So I don't necessarily get anything beforehand unless it's a very powerful message. So I sometimes get things, and so for instance, I gave a reading, I can't go into much of the detail, but I was seeing a certain chain of events unfold, and I thought that, so it was a double reading, 2 people coming together, which I don't normally do.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I've never had them in my home before. Are they going to do something to me? Is this chain of events that I'm seeing something that's actually going to happen to me?
Right, okay.
So I started to panic, and I thought, oh my goodness. Anyway, it turns out that chain of events was actually what happened leading up to the death of the father of one of the people who came.
Right, okay.
And for them, it was really powerful because it just confirmed what they already knew.
Right.
So, and it was suspicions as opposed to fact. And they just needed the clarity and the closure around that specific situation. So I think with each reading is powerful in their own right.
Yeah.
But I have noticed a shift in my readings over the past few weeks.
In gaining power for other people, you know, the power of interpretation of it.
Not so much gaining power, more things are going darker.
Really?
And it's having a bit of I'm not reacting well with it. So
I'm not surprised.
But I think that so spirit, they test you, they push your boundaries.
Right.
So I've always gotten a lot of things such as infant loss and suicide and things such as that.
Yeah.
And I was used to just getting information like that through and communicating with those people. But now it's gone a little bit sinister with some of the readings that I've had. And I'm finding that difficult to kind of navigate. But I know that it's just spirit trying to push my boundaries to expand my awareness of different things.
Okay, yeah. Like a challenging day at work in any other industry.
That's it.
Wow, that is quite interesting. And obviously you talked about communicating with spirits that have a higher good. Clearly you must come across the opposite.
Yes. Not so much now, but when I was growing up, this led to there were a lot of really negative events that would happen. So when a loved one of yours passes away, someone that you're very close to, so my dad passed away when I was 11, that opens your soul to so many different types of, if you want to say paranormal attack, energetic attacks. That's how I'll probably word it.
I can understand
Everyone believes differently though. So some mediums will believe this, other mediums won't, but I'm just talking from my own personal experience. And I have been pulled out of my bed. I've been pinned down on my bed. I've had doors slammed in my face, things thrown at me. I've had all sorts happen to a point where I would consistently vivid dream and lucid dream and come out of my body and see demonic entities. And it literally ruled my teenage years.
Oh my goodness.
And it pushed me into a really dark place.
Yeah.
And I thought, it was actually my mum who said, come on, you need to shake yourself out of this. And she literally was like kicking me as if to say, let's get out of this.
Yeah.
And I did. And it took me a lot of work, and it didn't take me until probably my late 20s to really understand that those negative energies, when they can get a hold,
they
can really pull you down. and you have to be very strong of mind and know your own power and be able to pull yourself out of it.
Same in life as well, this side as
absolutely.
well. But goodness me, like as if being a teenager isn't hard enough to deal with, and then you're dealing with demonic entities.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that must have been really scary.
It was, but when I realised that actually I was the one giving them the power, the tables really turned then. And I thought, no, I'm not going to give you any kind of power anymore.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because people laugh at the idea of demons, but they're just energy.
Okay.
You know? So you have higher frequency, you have the lower frequency.
Yeah.
But equally, it's also about what you believe. And if you believe that they exist, they exist. If you believe they don't exist, then you're already activating and working on a different level of consciousness.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, because you'd psychologically think, well, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy model.
That's it.
But then on an energy level, then it clearly is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And you can only access and be open to what is on your vibration.
Right.
So it's the same when it comes to things like manifestation. So if you want to manifest winning the lottery, as an example, if you are not at the same level, on a vibrational level, as how you would feel if you were to win the lottery, there's no way that you would ever manifest that.
And that's why they say almost that you've got to create that feeling from your
100%,
thoughts. Do you believe in manifestation? Does
100%.
It work? Okay.
It does work.
Right.
Absolutely.
I need to work on it.
We've changed our lives multiple times.
Really?
By manifestation. And I say we as in myself and my husband. You have to work hard, but everything that we get taught about manifestation isn't actually the full truth.
Okay.
So yes, you've got to believe it, but you have to be constantly in that present mindset of I am abundance, I am worthy of abundance. And it goes even further and goes back to what I was talking about when it comes to the quantum realm and what is in your quantum field. You have certain blocks, energetic blocks, especially when it comes to money. From such a young age, we are taught, no, we can't afford that.
Absolutely.
We never say we can't afford anything,
right?
Because you always can afford it,
right?
You know, so even if you don't have the money there in the bank, it's like, no, it's absolutely fine. We can afford that.
I'm
and
so
then
guilty
the money
of that.
just manifests. So you have to learn not to control the outcome when you're trying to manifest. And I don't think many people are told that.
No, because it doesn't make sense, does it? You think, right, well, I've got to do everything in my power to control this outcome.
Absolutely.
So it happens. But yeah, it's almost like, I think we talked about this before, obviously you can control the input, but surrender the output.
That's it.
But then that's so hard to do.
So hard. But that's why you practice daily at doing it.
You almost imagine that you're in that present of having what you desire right now.
That's it.
Okay, but you, at the same time, you're not expecting anything to happen.
Exactly. So therefore you're never disappointed. So therefore you don't bring down your frequency.
And disappointment brings it down.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And you know, all these things are really like interesting to read, but it's another thing putting them into action.
Yes.
It's again, you need that discipline.
You do.
Almost discipline to be not disciplined.
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
way. It blows my mind. And anyway, so I keep going off just asking random questions.
That's absolutely
because
fine.
It's I totally believe what you're saying about when you go through a traumatic experience, almost like your soul opens a little bit. I felt like that last year. And I saw a lot more signs. And me and my cousin read the book Signs. Have you read the book Signs?
Yes,
That was amazing.
Yeah,
so I was trying to get these signs and I was getting them all the time, like instantly. And my cousin was like, I'm not getting them at all. And I was just like, maybe you don't need them. I need them.
Well, this is it. You get what you need. And it's the same with mediumship. When someone comes for a reading, I'm not going to tell you what it is that you want to hear. You will only ever get what you need to hear.
Yeah.
The same with who comes through. You'll always get who you need, not necessarily what or who you want. So yeah, it's
so interesting.
It is fabulous.
I love it. And it must be, if you're hearing, seeing, smelling, all these senses, it must be like a little bit of overload for you sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can be quite overstimulating. But as I've said, with having 3 such small children, I get more overstimulated with the noise from the children.
Yeah.
And when I'm not with them, when they're at nursery, I'm always with spirit.
Okay.
So we all have our own teams, whether people believe it or not. We all have our own spirit teams, and they're made up of so many different people.
Yeah.
And you will always feel, sometimes when the hairs go up on the back of your neck and you feel someone's there, it's actually somebody from your team protecting you in the times that you really need that protection.
Wow.
They're there anyway. But the synchronicities, the signs, the gut feeling that you get from your higher self, it's your team directing you on your life path.
And I obviously had a reading from you recently, was maybe a couple of weeks ago, and there were times when I was going through a difficult time last year where literally I felt my ground was like right with me, sat beside me. And so obviously she came through for me on the reading. And it's weird because when you're in that moment, you do question yourself, I feel it so strongly. And I felt like she was almost playing the songs through the radio that she needed to communicate to me. But equally, there's that little bit of like almost that real world, this is the here and now. When you die, you're gone. And that's it. That goes through your brain. Just think, oh, come on, stop being silly sort of thing.
Exactly.
But and then,
which is crazy if you think about it, because we are such ethereal beings.
Yes.
People think that our soul is in our body. That is not correct. Our body is within our soul. And I know that sounds so crazy, but our energetic field is part of our soul and the body is at the center of that. Yeah. So we can connect and communicate and take those signs all the time. We just have to be intuitive enough to connect to that and have trust in ourselves. We're so conditioned to seek value and worth externally as opposed to trusting everything that's internal. And this is what drove me on my mediumship journey, is trusting me, and seeking the answers from inside. That's all I've ever been taught now through this journey, is you have to trust what is going on inside, because that's where you get the real answers. Definitely.
And it sometimes takes slowing down to receive that information, which is incredibly hard to do in the world we live in.
It really is.
Yeah. And the devices that we have, the technology, I think that's really counterproductive.
It really is. And it does impact our electromagnetic field.
Of course it does. Yeah. So do you have to almost be quite protected from your devices before a reading, or?
I should, but no, not necessarily. I think I don't tend to be on my phone very much anyway. As for other things, I do unplug things in the house. Yeah. I try to avoid certain... So if I look at a microwave, we do have a microwave, but we very rarely use it, and I keep it turned off. Just because the smallest amount of what's it called? Electromagnetic. That's it. Sorry, my mind went blank.
No, it's okay. Mine does it all the
time. They do affect us, and they really impact because we have layers, we have energetic layers, and they get perforated with EMFs, but they also get perforated with everything. So alcohol, what's in our environment, what we ingest, the clothes we wear. So it's
totally, and you feel that some days, don't you?
100%. But I don't like to have my phone on charge overnight. I keep it it's near the door, away from the bed.
Okay.
So
I could definitely be better in that area. And is there a way to shut out the noise? Say you just want a quiet afternoon, the kids are perhaps at nursery and school, and you're just like, please just leave me alone, 2 hours to myself.
I could say that, and I probably should. But I really enjoy spending time with the dead.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so crazy.
It doesn't, in a way.
It's peaceful. That in itself is peaceful. And my brain never stops.
Yeah.
My husband always says to me, can you not just do one thing? Can you not just slow down and do one thing? And he's always so worried about how much I take on, because I go full throttle all the time. I don't just do one thing at any one time.
And you have 3 children.
And I have 3 children. But I like that level of chaos, because it is chaos, and I feel comfortable in that. There's definitely some trauma in there I probably need to work on, but I like being with spirit. Other mediums say no, you have to have a shut off, but I'm always talking to my spirit team, and they're always dropping things in my head which help me on a daily basis, especially when it comes to work.
Yeah,
so definitely. I try to take that on. They're not intrusive. If it became intrusive, so one thing I do say is from the hours of 7 p.m. till 7 a.m., I was like, I don't want anybody here, purely because of the children. I need them to sleep. But it did get to a point in our house. So we live in an old schoolhouse and right next to a cemetery.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So it's busy.
Yes, I can imagine.
And there are so many children. So there are a lot of children buried in that graveyard. Sad. It is, but they're always in the house.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that 2 out of the 3 of my children are always talking to different children.
My goodness.
And they started to play tricks during the night. So they would run around upstairs, they would run down the stairs. And these are the deceased children, not my children. And they would wake my children up, they would wake me up, they would shout in my ear. And I'd be like, this has to stop. Like from the hours of 7 till 7, no.
You had to discipline the other
Absolutely.
children as well.
Yeah. And it worked. It did work.
It just blows my mind a bit, but yeah, I do believe
Sorry,
it.
that's a lot,
I do believe it. It's just crazy. Like I just can't imagine, you're looking after your own children and then the dead children. And
That sounds, that doesn't sound good when you say it like that.
No, but I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, it does blow my mind still in a way, but
People watching this might be like, she's actually crazy though. Like, it's not that she's a medium, she's mad.
But I hate that stigma as well.
Yeah, there is a lot of stigma around.
And I do love it when we had a lady on who's a dog shaman, and there's a more complicated name for it, but she's also, she's been in the education industry. I think she's got a PhD, which I think you have as well.
I do.
So I love it when people because it does have that stigma attached. Oh, you must be crazy, but you're clearly not. You're very educated. You're very emotionally intelligent and very normal. Normal's a bad word to use, but that's why I wanted to interview you, because I do believe in it all, and I think it deserves more of a voice.
Thank you.
So,
I'm really happy to be here, actually. Really happy.
Yeah, I do have to ask a question. Is there anyone else here in the room with you?
I knew you.
You knew I would want to go there.
There are a few people. I have 3 different people.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think going into a live reading would definitely put me on the spot.
No, we're not going to do that. But it's just interesting to know. And would they always be here, or have you brought them with you?
No, the 3 that I have here are nothing to do with me.
Okay.
So
just turned up for the podcast live.
Yeah. Just
thank
chilling.
you very much.
As well, I mean, what I did notice as soon as I came into the building and I sat down, the energy became very dense.
Okay.
So energy really impacts me.
Yeah.
And I suddenly got a thick band across my head and I was like, oh no. And I was super high vibrational when I came in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just felt, so I could immediately sense the thick energy from lots of different people. And I know that one of the people that I have is actually for a gentleman stood down there in the lobby.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
But you can't just go up to somebody and say, oh, by the way, I have your deceased wife with me right now.
Oh my goodness.
You can't do that.
That is crazy.
The younger me would have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you learn boundaries.
No, I understand that. But I still feel it's like such a, I don't know, it's so compelling, isn't it? Because it might bring them comfort, but it equally could bring them stress.
Well, absolutely. It's really hard, actually, being able to, or having to exercise that level of caution and, I can't really think of the word right now, but I just have to be very mindful what I say, how I say it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a gentleman in Sainsbury's the other day who evidently had a really serious leg injury, and I just walked past him and I immediately thought, he needs to go to the doctor about that leg. And I'm more of a medical medium. That's something that I feel very pulled to of late. And I know that on my spirit team, I have a shaman and I have a voodoo witch doctor, and then I also have another medical doctor on my team.
Wow. Uh-huh.
So they're always with me when I'm doing my Reiki psychic health readings.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally jumped into my head when I was in Sainsbury's next to this man, and I had to tell him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't not. If I didn't, it could have resulted in something completely different.
Okay, yes.
So I thought, right, I have to tell him.
Yeah.
So I did give him a brief message, and he said, thank you so much. I have been humming and hawing as to whether or not I go to the doctor. I was like, I would recommend that you actually go to A&E as opposed to your doctor.
Interesting.
And he said, oh, okay, I've been feeling X, Y, or Z. I was like, that's because you have something going on there.
And how did you broach that? Did you tap him on the shoulder, say, excuse me, I'm a psychic medium, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But I wouldn't do that normally.
No.
And I've been taught very well not to do that, because not everybody's open.
No.
And people might find that offensive.
Do you get a sense if they're going to be open about it or not?
Yes. But if someone is in that much need, so he was in such a physically bad way, that I just had to. There was no choice with that one.
Was it, could you physically see he was limping, or was there no sign physically?
He was limping, but it was more of an instant heat and
Okay.
swelling and pulsating in the back of the leg going up to his thigh. And I could see that he had a couple of clots in there.
Goodness. Just so you know, I've got a hospital appointment about my knee, because I know you pointed out that
you don't have a clot though.
Thank you. I was thinking,
just throw that one out there.
No, I don't feel like I do, but I know there's something not right with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will get that sorted.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, it's there's that famous example, isn't there, where they say to a skin cancer doctor, if you saw someone with a suspicious mole on the beach, would you go and tell them? And it's kind of like they feel that it's their duty of care that they should, even though, obviously it's going to ruin their holiday. It could be a holiday of a lifetime, but it could save their life as well. So how can you sleep at night if you don't tell someone?
You can't. But it's always on your mind.
But equally, like, ruining their holiday isn't fun either.
No, but this is where being in this line of work is really tricky. And the same as medical doctors, if they were to see something like that, there have to be boundaries, and also the process of free will and whether or not you end up impacting their life moving forward. You have to be very careful.
Yeah, definitely.
Stories are at the heart of the PRSonal Podcast, and we're so grateful for everyone who comes on and shares them. Stories are also at the heart of a strong PR campaign. And at Harvey and Hugo, we believe that everyone's story deserves a chance to be heard. That's why we're on a mission to give you a voice amplified through the power of story. Our stories are shared in the form of press releases, social media, content marketing, videography, photography, animation, graphic design, and podcasting. Our stories aren't just heard, they're shared, watched, clicked, but most importantly, they are felt. It's this stirring of emotions that cuts through the noise to light fires within people and activate them towards your purpose. So one question for you: are you ready to share your story? Harvey and Hugo, your voice amplified.
And generally, when people proactively come for a reading, what are they looking for answers about?
So I'm giggling because I've noticed a huge shift in people that are coming to me. And originally it was just lots of different people from all walks of life, but they've kind of self-categorized. So I have maybe 4 or 5 different types of people who come. So I've got people who come who are in the midst of grief, who cannot overcome the loss of their partner, their father, their mother, whoever they've lost. Sometimes they come to me and it's far too raw.
Okay.
And like I say, I get a lot of infant loss as well. Now, I say sometimes they come and it's far too raw. I have to say that I did pick up a message for a child who had only been buried on the day that I got the message.
Oh my goodness.
And I was so compelled to have to deliver that message to the person. And I passed it along to somebody who knew the family, and they were very thankful, and it actually really benefited them to have had that message.
Okay.
But otherwise, grief can cloud somebody's emotions when they come for a reading. So if it's too close, I will say, I can't read you, I'm really sorry. So come to me when you've maybe 6 months' time, when you've moved through that process. I also have people who come to me, so CEOs, business directors, high flyers, couldn't get my words out then, high flyers that you would call them.
Okay.
And they are looking more for spiritual guidance on how they can become more open and universally connected, as well as looking for answers for their own business or personal life.
Right, okay.
Never really to connect to the other side because they already know that they're there.
Okay.
I also get people come through who generally just want guidance on a psychic level as opposed to connecting mediumistically.
Right.
Some people who just want to connect mediumistically. And then lastly, a lot of spiritual people who are very awakened, very in tune with themselves, who regularly speak to spirit but don't know the next steps.
Okay.
So they'll come to me for a reading regarding that. I do always direct them to someone like Deborah Chalmers just because she's been doing it for so long and she's so fabulous.
Yes, it's quite a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag.
And when someone has passed on, is there a certain time before they can find you, or can they instantly? I know you said about that child. Is that unusual?
Not necessarily. Like I say, I think different mediums have different opinions depending on how they have been taught or whether they've been trained at all. And I would, in my opinion, I would think that it was quite a narrow view to have, to say that it takes a spirit longer to get in touch. I don't actually think that's true. Their energy, they're powerful. They've gone back to who they were before they even came here.
Yeah.
So their energy is quite strong.
Yes.
So I just think it depends on the need of the person here, the need of the person who's passed away, and what it is that they need to, the message that they need to convey.
And can you contact anyone from the other side, like specifically, or do they find you?
Now, I love this question because that made me really think, because I don't ever actively look for anybody. I never have, but I thought to myself, why don't I? You know, like there are so many famous people who've passed away or politicians or anybody who has certain answers about certain things. I'm thinking, why have I never contacted them? So it is something that I am working on. This moves into something else that I also do. So I do remote viewing as well, which is where I get myself into a nice meditative state, and I can actually, so if I think of my children, where they are, if they're at nursery, and I want to know what they're doing in that moment, then I will get into that kind of a meditative trance state, and I can see what they're doing, what they're up to. And this is an actual thing that people do. This is what the governments do. So I thought, I need to get more into remote viewing, which has led on to so many different things, which I don't think there's enough time to talk about.
Oh my goodness.
But on the other hand, when it comes to people coming for readings, whoever comes through, I give the message through. What I will say is, though, some people, if they come through and the person who I'm reading for doesn't want to hear from them, I have to ask them to leave, which is quite tricky.
Do they get sad? Do they still have emotions?
Yes. Yeah, emotions they still have emotions. Yeah. It's more love and light and everything on the other side. You know, the higher vibration you are, the more gratitude and love and that's kind of space that you come from.
Okay. Wow, yeah. You have to almost have like really diplomatic skills for the other side as well. Do you have to say that out loud, or do you just say it in your head?
In my head.
Okay.
Unless the person in front of me has already said it.
Okay.
But what I do tend to say to the person is, look, they've come through for a reason, irrespective of what they may have done in your life. It depends on whether you want to work through that trauma as to whether or not you want to hear what they have to say. Sometimes people who come for reading actively seek those people out who've caused them such pain.
Yes.
I'm finding it more challenging with the readings that I'm doing, but like I say, because certain content is so dark. There's all sorts of things that I've brought through, you know, child trafficking, abuse, adultery, murder, people being framed for murder, suicide, and it's like, how do I deal with this?
Yeah, that's a lot. Like, how do you like almost switch off after all that?
Sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
If I'm completely honest. Sometimes Deborah will be sick of me because I'm always sending her messages. I'm sending a voice note saying, help, this has happened. What do I do? Other times I go outside and ground.
Yes.
So I take my shoes off and I go and stand on the grass outside, and I just take some deep breaths and I brush my energy field because the energy is so thick and it's so dense. I can't leave that stuck to me.
Yeah.
So one really good way, if you're feeling blah, whether just on a personal basis or if you are a medium or anything, clap. Everything is sound. Everything is sound. We're here because of vibration, because of sound. So you just clap all around you. Clap it all out.
Does the music, sorry about that, on that sound thing, does the music we listen to affect our frequency?
100%.
Okay.
Now, one of the biggest things that have happened is that music used to be of a specific frequency. I think it was 432 hertz.
Yeah.
I might be wrong with that, but they did, I say they, record labels, whoever you want to call them, change the frequency of the music.
Right.
So we don't actually hear music at the hertz that we should. So 432 hertz is a full body DNA genetic repair.
Okay, yep.
So music that is vibrating at that level can help you, like the solfeggio frequencies, for example.
Heard of that.
They are phenomenal when it comes to healing the body and different illnesses. So they do affect you. I don't listen to things like rap music because it's of a specific vibration,
right?
And it really can make me feel quite negative and quite aggressive. So I just avoid it completely.
Yeah.
I go through phases of what I listen to. So I tend to listen to classical because it is very uplifting.
Okay.
But also I'm really into kind of Latin music, flamenco, Spanish, something that resonates with my soul.
Oh, nice.
So I go with what I feel.
I'm really into house and electronic dance music at the minute, and I don't know, it somehow just lifts my mood. I don't know what frequency it's at, but
that'll be to do with your soul as well. So there's so many different facets to everything that, you know, we think we get one straight answer. So with regards to the frequency, we say, right, okay, we'll have that frequency because it heals us here. But it might not resonate on a soul level. So then, you know, if you find something that does resonate, then it's like, oh, okay. But then that could be contradictory to what we've just said.
Oh, no,
so
totally. But I know
tricky.
Who resonates with me on a soul level, music-wise, Lana Del Rey.
Oh,
just like, there was one particular song, right in the peak of my trauma last year, literally, I just had to listen to it on repeat, and it almost helped soothe in a weird way. It's, and I'd never...
You have to do what your soul... Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
What calls to your soul.
Yeah. But they're very different types of music. I feel like the house music at the minute, and here's where I'm sounding crazy, it almost blasts through and cleanses my soul in a weird way.
Do.
Yeah?
It absolutely will do. You feel that for a reason.
Do you ever get surprised about what's coming up in your personal life, or do you already know?
Well, I would have said, if you'd asked me this before October last year, I would have said I actually get an inkling as to what happens before it happens. So I don't technically get surprised by much. But then I had a car crash. I got blinded by the sun, and luckily no one else was involved. And I wrote my car off.
Oh, goodness.
And I was like, you would have thought, and everyone said it to me, well, as a medium, you would have thought that you would have seen that coming.
Oh, that must be annoying.
Oh my gosh, seriously. But I was very much in the present. And was I in the present actually thinking about it? I don't think I was. I think I was thinking about something else whilst I was driving. And then it's almost as though I didn't even notice the sun blinding me until it happened. But normally I pick up on things before they happen. I'm very in tune with my children and my husband, but predominantly my children. So when it comes to health or emotional well-being, I pick up on that almost before they notice it themselves.
Yeah, I feel that, and I haven't even got your special powers.
It's not special powers. You're picking up on it because you have that as well.
I had this appointment, and I just knew nursery were going to call to say I needed to collect. I think it was Camille at the time, and and I just knew. It's so weird. I even said to someone, I probably won't end up going, but and you know, I could think that loads of times it might not happen, but particularly around health and just knowing almost if they're having a hard time, you get that feeling. And I guess some people might say that's a mother's intuition, but that is all linked, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you think about it, your DNA runs in them and your blood is in their body. And then, so if you think of, so I think of my children, Ophelia has my blood, but then I look at Clara and she has my blood and Ophelia's blood. Gabriel has my blood, Ophelia's blood, and Clara's blood. So all of the different genes and genetic mutations go through all of your children as well as from yourself. So you do, on a genetic level, have that connection. And also, so I believe in reincarnation, and when you reincarnate, you sign a soul contract. This is something that I know from things that and it's also my belief, but what I have channeled through and different people that I've spoken to on the other side, you have your soul contract and you sign up to major things that happen in your life, and you've got free will in between those major things. And you sign up to that alongside your soul family. So you choose people from your soul family to reincarnate with. So it could be that my children have reincarnated, but in my past life, they weren't my children. They may have been a friend, or they may have been a mother, or they may have been a grandparent. But you are intrinsically linked forever, universally, through different space and time.
Definitely. I believe that. And I think I've said it on this podcast a while ago, and maybe even told you, but when my first was born, the first time I looked at her face, she, you know, when they're just born, they're all sloppy and everything.
Yeah.
She put on the boob, not the breast, I should probably say. And I looked at her face for the first time, and it was my granddad's face. Yeah. Not as a baby, like full grown beard and everything. I was like, well, this is strange. And I wasn't even thinking about him. Yeah. He died when I was 3. But it made me so emotional. And then I looked around the room to see if I was like, look at my baby. It's a man, a grown man. and then I looked back and she had a normal baby, her normal face. And I was just like, obviously you're overwhelmed in that moment anyway. And I was losing a lot of blood and everything. But then, and I wasn't on medication or painkillers. It's just strange.
But it's in those moments when, especially if you're hemorrhaging, that you are between both worlds.
Do you know what? And I really felt it both times.
Absolutely. So you would have seen your granddad 100%.
Yeah.
And it probably was either him coming to you to show you that he was there to support you through that tough moment. It could be that he has been reincarnated through your child. You know, we're all.
And I know you mentioned you had difficult birthing experiences. Were you hemorrhaging?
I hemorrhaged with my second. So I almost had a heart attack with Ophelia.
Oh my goodness.
So I have AF. And so I have to be honest, my care was phenomenal. I went to Gateshead because I just knew that I would get fantastic care there.
It's just for listeners, is AF arterial fibrillation? Or
atrial fibrillation.
Atrial fibrillation.
Yeah,
right,
sorry
okay.
about that.
It's
yeah.
all right, just checking.
And luckily, I don't particularly feel much now. I'm not on any medication or anything. I manage it myself. But my care was fantastic around having Ophelia. And so they were very aware of what could go wrong. And they were very aware that whether or not I should have really given birth naturally or if I should have had a C-section, but I went for the natural route, being me. And it was such an intense physical experience. I ended up having back-to-back contractions. I didn't have
same
a break. It was horrendous.
Yeah. And you read all these things, you've got to time things. And I was just thinking, well, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, it's just constant. Yeah. There is no break. I may have had like 10 seconds between contractions, and I had 18 hours of that.
Oh my goodness.
So I got to a point where I said to the anaesthetist, I was like, you just have to give me something because I don't know how much longer I can do it. And then they actually gave me an epidural, which was bliss. But then they noticed that because of that long stint, that my heart wasn't doing so well.
Oh, goodness.
And then my heart rate, my blood pressure dropped. And I even said to my husband, I went, I'm just letting you know now something will happen with my heart. I can feel it. You've got about 10 seconds to get the anaesthetist in. So then the anaesthetist came in and my heart rate went through the roof. It went up to like 200 beats per minute. And they said, we have to get something in her. Or
it's giving me goosebumps. But did you know you would be okay?
With that one, yes. With Clara, it was a different story.
Okay.
But I did know what was going to happen before it happened. And I said it before I went in. And because we had started our manifestation journey before having Clara, Will said to me, don't manifest that. I said, I'm not manifesting it. I'm just telling you this is the line of events. This is what's going to happen. So obviously it all started to unfold, all started to happen. And they tried to break my waters when really they shouldn't have. It took them 20 minutes. So they managed to break it and all hell went loose.
Really?
And yeah, literally they couldn't get a line in and I just lay there and I thought, okay, I know I'm going to die.
You really felt that?
I really felt I was going to die. And I accepted it.
You felt that was your time?
Yes, whether or not I was going to die, fully die, or I was going to just die and come back. And that's what happened. That's what I feel happened. I didn't flatline or anything.
Yeah.
But there was just chaos in the room. And my husband was like, oh my God, she's right. She was actually going to die. And I just lay there and I just accepted it. And then there was no noise. And then I was with Clara on the other side looking down at my body.
Wow.
And I hadn't told anybody that until I told Will maybe a few weeks ago. And I just remember looking down and I looked at Clara as Clara is now and not as a baby. And I thought, and I just looked at her, I was like, right, we've got each other. And then she just looked at me and she said, but what about Effie? And I said, okay. So then I thought, right, we'll have to go back. So then we came back and then they sorted me out and I hemorrhaged after that. But then, and then my third pregnancy was a very difficult pregnancy, but my birth was fabulous. I listened to frequency music. I shunned everything that the doctors threw at me. and I gave birth naturally with nothing.
I'd have been so worried though after the 2 previous experiences.
I was, and I think when my waters broke naturally, I thought, oh my gosh, right, I'm panicking.
Here
now.
we go.
I'm panicking.
Yeah.
But then I've got to give it to my husband. He was phenomenal, through all 3 of everything, especially the births. And he would sit there and he would say, right, just your ancestors are here. So we were very spiritual.
Oh, okay.
And I saw, when I was giving birth to Effie, I saw all of my ancestors that they were there. And then when I was with Clara, when everything went quiet, all of my spirit team stepped in. And I could just see all of my spirit team.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it was just so powerful.
I didn't see anything. I felt very calm going through it. It was worse with Camille in terms of blood loss.
Yeah.
But I just felt calm and almost a sense of knowing it'll be okay. Just don't panic. They actually praised me for not panicking because that would have made everything worse. Which usually I love a good panic. So clearly it was someone else was taking over.
Yeah, but that'll be your higher self.
Yeah. My higher self is so calm. I need to channel her more.
Trust your gut.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
But interestingly, what my experiences, and I haven't really spoken to maybe anyone about this, but I would sometimes flip in the situation, and I'd almost flip. It's very difficult to describe. It would turn into a different hemisphere.
Okay.
In my mind, in my soul, in my person.
Sure.
And I'd be in this almost waiting room and it was very bland. It was almost, the best way of describing it's like a 70s sitcom sort of thing.
Okay.
People in kind of the grey sort of shirts, pale green hospital walls.
Okay.
But it would flip quite quickly. And it'd be like, well, I'm back. And then it'd be like, right, okay, I'm kind of in this room again. This is weird.
You may have astrally projected.
Okay.
So you can astrally project and you move through different dimensions, different realms.
That's the word, dimension. It was a different dimension.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's absolutely what you would have done.
Yeah.
Because you then move to what is known as your safe space.
Okay.
In a different dimension.
Didn't feel safe. It just felt odd. Okay. Just like in like a holding space.
Yeah.
You're just waiting.
It could be that maybe you couldn't have dealt with that on a physical level if you had been in the body.
Maybe, yeah.
Because sometimes your soul exits because it can't withstand what the physical is going through.
Maybe that makes sense. It's like just like almost my body sat there, you know?
Absolutely.
Just, strange. But it was just literally a flip of a dimension. It was almost like just a coin turned a bit.
So it's funny you say this. So that leads on to something called exit points.
Right.
So we have a minimum of 48 exit points in our lifetime.
Okay.
And this is something that different scientists talk about. I can't remember if it was Dr. Joe Dispenza or not, but there are lots of different scientists.
I've read a lot of his stuff.
Gaia, who talk about this.
Yeah.
And it's where you get to such a traumatic point that you physically can't move on without, it's like you've just shut down as a computer and you're yanked from your body. And it's almost as though you have a conversation and they say, do you want to continue? So you're given the opportunity to decide if you want to go back into yourself.
It's like pause on a computer game.
That's
almost.
exactly what it is.
Yeah, very interesting. But I wasn't almost thinking about, do I come back? It was just, it would flip without my control.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's really interesting. So, you've gone through all this traumatic birth experiences. You've got 3 children. You have so many different roles. Yeah. How do you juggle it all?
With difficulty. I'm so used to juggling multiple things. So I did my PhD. It should have been a 5-year thing. It ended up being a 7-year thing just because of house moves. We literally lost everything post-COVID, lost businesses, lost the house, lost the cars, lost everything.
Goodness.
And we were completely on our uppers. And we'd had Ophelia and she was maybe a year. I think she was just a year. And then I was due to give birth to Clara. And it was 3 days after I gave birth to Clara that we lost everything and had to move house.
Goodness.
So
and then you nearly die,
And then I nearly die, But all of these things happened at any one time. And so it's kind of made me be able to juggle everything at the same time. And also I find order in that chaos.
Yes.
If I don't have at least 2 or 3 things going on,
I
find it very difficult to function.
I can understand that as well. There's almost calm in the chaos at some level.
That's exactly
it's almost like
it.
you just accept the things are out of control and there's clarity and calm in that.
That's it. And equally, at the same time, you're then accepting that you're not controlling the outcome.
Yes. I see. Yeah. So. It's all making sense. You've talked about your dad passing and how challenging that was. Is there anything more that you want to talk about with that? Or are there any other challenges in your life you want to cover?
I think everybody goes through so many different challenges. It's what you take away from it that I think is the most important thing. And yes, when my dad passed, my entire world just shattered.
And that were 11?
I was 11.
Yeah.
And I was a daddy's girl.
Oh,
so
goodness.
it was literally the catalyst that completely rerouted my life. And, you know, I have a twin brother, and I think he still struggles with the death of our dad.
Yeah.
You know, and we're 39 this year, but I talk to him all the time.
To your dad all the time?
To my dad all the time. He's always there.
Oh, that's nice.
And so I think I'm more connected now to him than what I ever was before.
Wow.
But I'm a strong believer in you have to take what resonates from different situations and you need to grow from everything. Everything that you get thrown is a lesson from the universe, whether you want to take that or not.
They can be bloody awful, but
they can be horrific and completely upend everything, but there's a lesson in it. And once you learn that lesson and you take that away, everything starts to get better again.
Yeah.
You know, it's about trying to reframe and find the positive in even the darkest of times.
It has to get better than before though, right? Because
100%.
Otherwise what's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of it like stepping stones.
Okay.
They're all stepping stones to what your life is supposed to be like. So you just have to trust in the universe, trust in the process. And one thing that I'll probably say is, what I say every single day to the universe is, show me how good it can get. So if I find myself in a real tricky situation or not sure how to navigate something, I say, come on, universe, show me how good it can get.
Love that. I'm going to definitely start saying that.
And then the positive happens.
Brilliant. Yeah. Because there's always like, what's the worst that can happen? But then people don't say, what's the best that could happen?
That's exactly it. And if you say, what's the worst that can happen? The worst will happen.
True.
And the best doesn't.
Yeah. But am I right in thinking you've also been kidnapped? Attempted kidnap?
Yes. So those were two, what I would classify as exit points in my life.
Quite dramatic ones.
Very dramatic. So when I was at university, I was, again, I don't do things by halves. I decided to be with somebody who ran and owned a pub, and then I was like, yeah, I'll do that as well. Started doing assistant managing at a pub and running a pub whilst doing my degree. And one night I went out, drank far too much at that point. I was so young, and I was walking back, so this is right in the centre of York. I was walking back past the Minster, and someone came up behind me and literally picked me up and started dragging me back towards a van. And I went crazy. I just thought, it's either fight or die. I don't have a choice right now. And at this point in time, I hadn't heard of this happening to anybody. So I managed to fight my way out of that. But I remember always being told about using your head. And I remember Miss Congeniality. It was at the time when Miss Congeniality came out, and she always said on the film, sing. So solar plexus, instep, knee, and groin. So I used that, but I started off by hitting them with the back of my head. And I disarmed them, disabled them.
Yeah.
And then the second time, again, I'd been at what was called the Feria in Spain.
Okay.
The big party where you would just go and drink until silly o'clock in the morning, because I lived in Spain for quite a while.
Oh, lovely.
And it was when I was walking back to my house at the beach, and a car circled where I was maybe 3 or 4 times, and then on the last time cut up in front of me, across me. And this is at the point where Taken had come out.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
So I'd put my phone in my pocket, because I was on the phone to a friend in Barcelona at the time, and I was shouting like how this person looked and that this person was, and they tried to pull me into the car. But again, I fought back and managed to run away. But they were 2 very scary, scary times.
I'm not surprised. I mean, you're so unlucky for that to have happened twice, but so lucky to then have got away.
I must say that I was much smaller at that point, pre-children, and I was very physically fit, so that really helped in my favour. But I also...
But still, to fight off grown men...
Yeah.
Wow. And
I don't know how I got out of those situations. I would love to say I knew how I managed that.
That's just horrendous to think of, though. Just did that leave traumatic damage?
No. Now, I know this sounds bizarre because I have, I could probably write a book with the amount of things that I've been through, but I wouldn't say that actually has left any trauma. I mean, I was sexually assaulted when I was 18.
Oh, goodness.
As well. So I think maybe that had kind of numbed me.
Yeah. Oh,
and then when it came to, it's okay. When it came to that happening. Is it? No, it's not okay. It's absolutely not. But it's something that I've dealt with and come to terms with.
Okay.
But I think that numbed me to experience that I had post 18.
Oh my goodness.
And the death of my dad definitely numbed me to a lot, I think.
Just horrendous. You've been through so much trauma.
Yeah.
Controversial, but do you believe you manifest the negative things in your life?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that you can. I'm not saying that everything, because I believe in order and chaos in the universe. But equally, I don't think that absolutely everything that happens is predestined. Or I don't think absolutely everything is a sign. There has to be some kind of arbitrary amount of information that happens in our lives. Yeah, sorry, I've just gone off on a tangent there. I've forgotten what the question was.
No, it's fine. Almost manifesting negative things.
Oh, that's it. Sorry. Yes, I think, so when it comes to your thought process, again, this goes down to like quantum physics, and it goes to the more that you give a thought, the more you think about it, the more layers you give it.
Right.
So you then end up giving it depth.
Okay.
And if you dwell on that for such a length of time, it will manifest into your reality. So I used to have such a thing about my health and about my children's health to a point where I became neurotic with it.
Yeah.
And I noticed when, especially with Ophelia, I panicked about her health, and she started getting more and more things wrong with her, getting more poorly. And I thought, I'm doing that. I'm manifesting that. I don't think I did all of it.
So I thought you could only manifest things for yourself, not other people, but is that wrong?
This is where it is controversial. It's quite detailed. There's a lot to do, a lot linked in with manifestation. And again, everyone has their own opinion. That's just my belief.
Okay.
I do believe that what you believe is what will happen.
Right.
So it's the same with, I watched this podcast on Gaia, and it was all about manifestation and your belief system. So if you believe in demonic entities, they will start to become present in your life. If you believe that your child will get sick, that can happen the more times that you think about it, and the more density that you add to that thought.
Okay.
It's very, very complex. I mean, that will take a huge amount of time to even try and cover.
Yeah.
Just to give it some kind of, I don't think I would give it enough.
Yeah, Dispenser goes into it, doesn't he? In a lot of his books, and the science he breaks down into quite simple physics. Yeah, it's
so good.
It makes it so easy to understand.
Because he healed himself.
Yes,
which is just phenomenal. You know, he literally looked at internally all of the broken bones he had in his spine and healed himself. And when he got a negative thought, he would start all over again.
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
I mean, with Camille, I'd had miscarriages before and everything, and then it was IVF, and I was reading the Dispenser books at the time, and I was literally visualizing every night the embryo growing, like from really small. And I don't know, Camille's here, I'm not saying that I did it all. There's obviously a lot of science involved and medicine, but yeah.
I think we're so much more powerful than what we give ourselves credit for. And I think a lot of what happens, we are the ones who determine our reality. Yeah. So your reality is the way it is because of what you think, how you perceive things, the trauma you've been through, how you reframe things. So the more negative that you are, the more negative your reality. And there is science out there that is starting to back that up.
Yeah. But then at the same time, there is that toxic positivity, and you do have to feel what you feel. That's and everything. And my brain just gets so confused in what it's meant to be doing. Yeah. Am I meant to be feeling it? That feeling negative, feeling sad, letting those emotions out, you've got to feel to heal. Or is that bad? Is that sending me spiraling down into doom? And I should be manifesting in my present where I want to be,
I'm exactly the same though.
It stresses me out.
Yeah, and me. And in fact, my eye is twitching thinking about it. It's literally, that is such a fine line because we're here for a human experience. We're here to experience all of these emotions. Yes. You go to different dimensions, they don't feel like we do.
Okay.
This is a school. Planet Earth is a school.
Right, interesting.
And it's funny because when I was a child, I used to say to anyone who would listen, I was like, that we live in a dome. I was like, we live in a globe. I said, we're in a globe. and we reincarnate and we come back time and time and time again. People thought I was mad. But I mean, I don't know so much about the dome theory, but you know, we have to kind of, again, I've gone off on a
No, I totally know. And I've just been born, not the dome thing again, but just having that knowing that we reincarnate, which, you know, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I feel happens as well. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. We'll see.
I strongly believe that. And if we look at past lives.
Yes, that's so interesting.
It is. It's fabulous. And it's something that I haven't done yet, but I am very pulled to do. So I know I need to get it done soon. But we store... So if we look at it from a scientific perspective, there is science now that has come out that suggests that every single traumatic experience we've gone through, that your mother has gone through, that your grandmother has gone through, it's all stored in your DNA. And your DNA is like, it's known as the Akashic records. So it's just a record of everything that you've ever been through. And the same with your past lives. So you could go through and fix all of the trauma that you've been through in this life and rectify all of the karma, but you might have trauma from a past life that's manifesting into you now.
Totally. You told me I did.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I feel it.
I completely forgot what I said.
And it's almost like, it's a shame almost that your memories are wiped when you come into the world, but sometimes it malfunctions, you know. My eldest daughter used to always talk about a past life experience when she was like just able to talk. It's faded. And now she's 6. She's just like, I don't know what you're on about, mummy, but you know.
Well, this is it though. By the time a child gets to 7, their brain completely changes because they're operating on the theta brainwave, aren't they? Up until the age of 7. So then that's why, you know, scientists, educators always say your entire life is fixed by the age of 7.
Yeah. And that blows my mind as well.
And me.
Yeah.
And me.
But you can see it.
You can, absolutely.
Amazing. Oh, again, we could talk all day, but I'm going to have to start wrapping it up. Don't be sorry. It's fine. Amazing. The final question I will ask is, what in all of your experience is the meaning of life?
To be happy.
Okay.
To love, to be grateful, gratitude, self-love. I think once you master being happy with yourself, because I don't think anyone is happy with themselves. There is so much external pressure. And if we look at the younger generation today and social media and the pressures of social media, it's completely warping.
Terrifies me.
And me.
For my children.
And me. And I look at Ophelia, she's 4.5, and she is so fixated on how she looks and what others wear and how she can look like other people. And I keep saying, it's all about you. I said, authenticity is what you need to have. And that is the meaning of life, to be authentic, to love yourself freely and fully, and to love others, overcome hatred, overcome any kind of revenge or anger, and live to your full potential and live to what your passion is. Your passion might be a lifelong thing. It could be individual little things, so you change what you want to do in your lifetime on multiple different occasions. I think living truly, honestly, authentically is the meaning of life, in my opinion.
Oh, that's such a beautiful answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So now we're on to our regular feature, where on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, you rate yourself. It's awful, but you know,
it is
good fun. Fun for me, not for you. Right, Lori, how good looking are you? And it's all about, again, what you think and how you feel.
But then this is where I think, you don't want your ego to come in. I would say about a 6.
Okay. We had someone recently who said a 10 and I loved it. It's brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah. Funny. How funny are you?
I'd say a 6 or a 7.
Brilliant.
I find myself quite funny.
Yes,
Even
again,
if no one else does.
So long as you entertain yourself.
Exactly.
Cooking.
About an 8.
Oh, brilliant. Singing?
I'd say about an 8.
Awesome. Do you still drink alcohol as much as you used to back in your youth?
No way. Oh my word. It literally puts holes in your aura. I'm not going to say I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But you're literally siphoning energy from the next day. So if
totally. Souls in your
drink,
aura. Yeah, that's powerful.
It's true. It does.
Yeah. You feel it though.
You do. And
then
then
disconnected, I feel.
Absolutely. And that's why you feel dreadful the next day, because you have no energy left, because you've siphoned it all the night before or the day before. And then you're opening yourself to all different types of energies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like doom. Proper doom energy. I find that with caffeine a bit as well, you know.
It is horrendous.
Yeah.
I've had to wean myself off caffeine.
I'm working on it. And I got off it to go through IVF and everything. It just slowly creeps back in your life.
It does.
Especially when you've got little ones. But
it's of such a low frequency that it will bring you down.
And I feel that at the minute, it's kind of this buzz, crazy health industry, the coffee, just like red wine was a while ago.
Absolutely.
And, smoking, if you go even further back. And I think we'll discover, it's that thing about energy. It can't be transferred it can't be created or destroyed. It's transferred.
That's
and it's
it.
almost, you're using a chemical or a drug to transfer it from somewhere else.
Whereas you can do certain things just yourself to gain more energy in that instant moment.
Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Drinking alcohol, how good were you when you did really drink in terms of
how
score?
good was I and how good I was at drinking it?
Yes. Yeah, your tolerance. Like, could you drink a lot?
Yes.
Okay. Like an 8?
I'd say an 8.
Okay, great.
Not now though. Now I'm like a 2.
Me too.
Yeah.
Raising children?
A 10. 10 out of 10.
Awesome. Love that answer. How good a friend are you?
A 10.
Oh, brilliant. That's lovely. How intelligent are you?
I'm going to say 10.
Good.
Now,
I love
I'm
that.
not in my ego at all, but
No.
I fought for this is why I did my PhD, to prove to myself that I wasn't stupid.
Yeah, to prove to yourself.
I flunked out when I was doing my degree.
Oh, okay.
I got a third.
Right.
And there was so much shame around that, but I did that because I was running a business at the same time, which was so stupid. But me being me, so headstrong, I thought, I could do it all. I was lucky to even get a third. So then I went on to do my master's at Warwick, and then I thought, I'm just going to do my PhD next. Why the hell not? So then I did that at Durham, and I did very well, and there we go. So
awesome. And you're intelligent on so many different levels, like spiritually intelligent as well.
Oh, thank you.
Which I think is amazing.
Thank you.
How kind are you?
A 10.
Brilliant.
That's like, if there was, I'd go higher, like a 20.
Yeah.
Kindness is what guides everything that I do.
Oh, I love that. And how good at sex are you?
Oh God, this makes me cringe. I don't know. I even asked my husband, and he was like 20.
Oh, well, that's
and I was
amazing.
Like, I'm not going to say 20.
You just have.
I'm going to go with I'll say a 7.
Okay, brilliant.
I was better when I was thinner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was more confident.
Oh, it's confidence. Yeah.
It's a confidence
So
thing
much
for
in life
me.
is confidence, isn't
it?
Yeah. Again, it's that believing. If
That's
you believe, you will. You were halfway there, aren't you?
Yeah. If you believe that you're confident, then you are confident, like what you've just said.
Yeah.
Don't wait to believe it, just be it.
Yeah. So hard though. It is. Anyway, thank you so much, Laurie. I've loved our chat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, me too.
Thank you.